Hey guys, boot camp was fantastic. I can't tell you what a pleasure it was meeting you guys and working with such a talented group of traders. You guys are all going to be fantastic. And I want to talk about sort of the dynamics of trading against geopolitical uncertainty. You know that normally we avoid Mondays. So this time around, Monday rolled into the afternoon and gave us some tradable events. So you remember last Monday at the boot camp, we did find trades to focus on in the Magnificent Seven. That was after, sort of 11:30 or so Eastern time. That tends to be the case once we let markets settle in, and it's especially the case when you get something that happened on Friday that the markets have really already had a chance to digest. So we've got this, I'll call it tension, for lack of a better word, between Iran and Israel, and the result was some massive spikes in oil prices. We're $77 a barrel or whatever it is. That's not going to be great for an open, generally speaking, but the futures markets, they digested that information and things came back in, settled in, and we actually wound up having a gap to the upside in the morning. So what I want to do is just look at two opportunities that came along. Again, this is all about patience. Remember, we talked about you're not going to be able to force these trades. You're not going to be able to force opportunities to come to you. You have to sit and wait for them. And today, if you waited, you had some good looking stuff in NVIDIA and Tesla. But boy, you really had to just sit on your hands most of the session and let this stuff come to you. So let's take a look at the charts. Here we have it. This is, this first one we're going to look at. This is NVIDIA. And you can see that, over the course of the day, it managed to do what I showed you at the boot camp and trade in the box, and it did it twice. And, Mohit brought up at the boot camp that he likes these measured moves, and I like measured moves too. And you can see here that this move and this move, very, very similar in magnitude. So when you see that kind of a thing happen, don't be, too exuberant. It just happens all the time. When you get a leg higher and then another leg higher, it's what's to be expected. It's the reaction afterwards that you can hang your hat on. So when you had this followed by this and this inside that box, that's a very good predictive indicator that you're once again going to have price settle in above an anchored VWAP, which is right there. And that, when you see things like this out in the periphery here, where you get these clusters of, we didn't actually have them set up quite that nice during the boot camp for whatever reason, but look here at how this cluster analysis of this volume by price is telling you that it's in that box and it's going to stay in that box. So the first opportunity, as far as I was concerned, for the long entry was on a retest of the move back down to this threshold level right here. So that's right around the anchored VWAP, right around the low of the trading range that we're looking at here, 145.45. And, the extension move to the upside all the way up into 146.05. So that gave you a really good opportunity for a profit. And again, it is textbook. It's exactly what we talked about, exactly what I showed you at the boot camp. And if you sat on your hands most of the day, because this part of the day, we did not know which way things were going yet. And even though it looks fairly certain right now, because you've got the benefit of hindsight, really, what you didn't know at this point was if things were going to break back down into that morning range. And once we got the extension, it told you everything that you needed to know to get in front of some opportunities. The other trade that I looked at over the course of the morning was in Tesla. And Tesla, this guy, like we said last week, this can be like the worst date you ever went on in college, or it can be just like your best friend. It can be just like an old soul record. When you're looking at Tesla, you really need to judge a lot of things that are going on, and it definitely got us up into trading range early, and that trading range definitely lined up with a bunch of stuff out here. Told us that we had a significant opportunity here if price stayed inside that range to just oscillate back and forth, and that's what it did. But you really needed to focus on how far these dips below a line. So if you're looking at a 329.04 entry, you had to look at that 328.53 threshold and say, you know what, I know that it could very well go down and test there. And that's pretty much exactly what happened, right? So this was the area we got back down into, 329.04, the trigger event. And then if, you know, if you were in, your target, your first target was just up here at 330.16, and then you had another target up at 330.85. Those oscillations, those dips below the line here, all of those things have to be baked into the cake. You have to be expecting these things, and you have to be waiting for these things and looking for them. And you know, as we said at the boot camp, if you are brooding over the price action, there's a lot of places in there that you're probably going to think you're wrong, and you know, that's going to get you in and out and have you making mistakes. You wind up getting out in here. You can wind up getting out flat down here, you know, thinking that you were wrong, when the reality is if you just put it on and leave it on, then the trip back up into the travel range can be almost a foregone conclusion. And you know, once it's happening, it puts you in front of the opportunity for a profit. And if you let the profit play out on its own, you can wind up in really good shape. All right, so I am, as I said, you know, we are traveling, and I told you guys at the boot camp there was another life before the life, and probably two more before that. So I'm at the home of a friend, a music producer from back in the day, and enjoying his stories and enjoying just sort of being a part of what, you know, what was my life 30 years ago. And it's great to be doing this. So listen, until tomorrow, I'll see everybody in the war room tomorrow. Hopefully bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and everybody will be back. I know that you know, boot camp can be a little bit exhausting, a little bit like taking a drink of water from a fire hose. But you guys were great, and you know, I'm already looking forward to putting together the next one. So have a great trading day, and I will see everybody right back here tomorrow.